5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, this is an enormous waste of taxpayer money for us to sit here at this hearing when we realize, or should realize, this is not a legitimate congressional exercise. This is not a fact-finding hearing. This is theater. This is a charade. This is stagecraft. This is nothing more than a political hit job on a woman's right to choose, which, by the way, is constitutionally protected. And I've got the benefit of being one of the least senior members here, and so I get to sit through much of the hearing. And there are only one or two of us left. And this hearing has gone on for hour after hour after hour, and yet no one has presented a shred of evidence, a scintilla of evidence that Planned Parenthood has done anything wrong. And so I've got a few moments, and let me see if I can uncover some evidence of wrongdoing. The hearing is called Planned Parenthood Exposed. Dramatic. Examining abortion procedures and medical ethics at the nation's largest abortion provider. So, Dr. Levantino, you're the only doctor on the panel, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any evidence that any Planned Parenthood nurse, physician, has engaged in wrongdoing, violated medical ethics, or lost their license?
I do not have such evidence.
And you're the only doctor on the panel, correct?
Correct.
Does anyone else on the panel have any evidence that someone has violated their medical ethics?
Well, I would consider it a violation of medical ethics to do webcam abortion without ever seeing the client.
Okay. I appreciate...
or expecting non-medical people to do medical procedures. With
well, let's have a discussion. You were at Planned Parenthood for 18 years?
Right.
Is that correct?
About.
And you were terminated?
Yes.
And one of my colleagues asked whether you were a disgruntled employee, correct?
That already came up, yep.
And you disagreed with that characterization, I assume, correct?
I did. They were downsizing. Let me go.
Okay. Now, you alleged that Planned Parenthood was wrought with fraud. Is that correct?
Correct.
And in fact, you brought a federal court action claiming that they've engaged in fraud. True?
Correct. False Claims Act.
Now, under the False Claims Act, you would be what is called a relator. Correct?
Correct.
And the government has intervened as well in that action. True?
They're what?
The government has intervened in that action.
Yes.
Okay. And this was brought where? In the Southern District of Iowa?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Now, you testified earlier that you had no idea if you prevailed whether you would receive monetary benefit. Did I hear that correct?
I said we hadn't discussed it. I had not discussed it with my client or my attorneys.
You have not discussed that with your attorney?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, you allege in this action that Planned Parenthood engaged in $28 million of fraud, correct?
Correct.
And as a relator, you're entitled, under federal law, to between 15 and 25%, correct?
I don't know. We've never discussed that.
So you have a licensed attorney who's never discussed with you the fact that if you were to prevail in this lawsuit where you allege $28 million, that you could receive as much as $7 million? That's your testimony here today under oath?
Sir, for me, this is not about the money.
Okay.
It is not about the money. I'm here to try to tell the truth about Planned Parenthood and what I experienced in all those years there.
Now, you don't have any evidence that Planned Parenthood engaged in fraud, correct?
I engaged in fraud every single day that I was there.
Okay. Was your action dismissed at the district court level?
It was dismissed at district court and then reinstated by the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals.
Actually, that's inaccurate. I've got this decision right here, and I want to place it into the record. Now, first of all, the district court judge dismissed your action because you had no evidence of fraud. By the way, it was a judge appointed by G.W. Bush. You then appealed it to the 8th Circuit, They affirmed the decision that you've got no evidence of fraud, remanded on a separate ground. Good luck.
No.
But I will point out that the Eighth Circuit Court judges concluded, based on the district court's decision, you failed to plead fraud with specificity pursuant to
Gentleman's time has
9B,
expired.
and it's a matter of public record. I yield back.
The gentlelady can answer the question if she needs to.
Well, sir, the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals reversed the district court, and it's now back in district court. We're waiting on a ruling from them.
I thank the
I would just
gentlelady.
ask the chair, because you didn't respond to my request, sir, to enter as a matter of record both the district
Without
court
objection.